What's happening, guys? Welcome back to Vertical Football. Welcome back to another episode of the Manchester United Fans Corner. I'm your host, Shegun, and it's great to be back here. It's Monday, and as usual, we're here to discuss Manchester United. We had an amazing week last week because we did a lot of content about players, about even analysis, the first part analysis on Michael Carrick's interim period. If you don't watch it, please check it and watch it. Very, very insightful episode. And so we capped off that week with fantastic performance against Nottingham Forest, 3-2 win. I think that game showed us a lot more. We learned a lot more in that game. Really, that's the Nottingham Forest game. We learned a lot more. First and foremost, we have to say that we saw two different approaches to the game in that Nottingham Forest game. Two different approaches. And I think we've not seen it like that under Michael Carrick, where we see two different approaches. We usually see one approach in one game and that approach in another game. But I think the first half, first 25 minutes especially, was controlled, compact, as I said. Compact, if you notice. And we had those combination plays. We controlled the tempo of the game very well. It was our tempo. It was kind of like a pedestrian tempo, but it was our tempo. We didn't speed it up fast. It was in our control. We pushed it around. We scored a very, very good goal in that period. And after that in 5 minutes, because there's no real consistency now, we are doing our things. Nottingham Forest had the ball more towards the end of the first half. And I feel that's just the consequence of the period we are in terms of, even though you want to do something, there's no consistency in what you want to do. And I think the second half, we now saw a different style of play in the sense of it was more transitional. A lot of chances were created in that period, in that block of period. A lot of misplaced pass at the final third. A lot of chances made for the likes of Mbeumo, Ama, some misplaced passes. Ultimately Bruno got his 20th assist of the season. And I think it was something you could just evaluate and say two different style of plays, and like also read the body language of the players. And for me, when I was watching it, I was like, I think we have to now decide, which one are we going to be choosing? Or we will just decide that the two are in our arsenal because, combination play, you have transitions. Okay, which one do we have in our, go to put in our arsenal? Right? Or do we just put the two? But what I felt and my feeling was that the players were more, they enjoyed the transitional kind of, the counter-attack kind of style. And I think that's what we've already known. But I think they enjoyed it more. You know, I say they didn't enjoy the first one, but they enjoyed it more. So I think it's something that we have to just get in our arsenal in both places. But I feel we have to also get better in what we saw for the first 25 minutes. Maybe at a much increased tempo, right? Maybe at a much increased tempo that first 25 minutes. But for me, I think it was decent. A lot of chances were created. I think the XG was around 4 point something. I think that's like the highest we've had under Michael Carrick's reign. So I think it's very, very good. And I think a lot of lessons to be learned there. And also there was a farewell to Casemiro, which we've said we've given our appreciation to what he has done this season. So guys, let's go into today because I don't want to take your time. This is just my own view on how the game went yesterday. So let's talk about the episode we're having today. And the episode we're having today is trying to objectively rate the performances of our players this season. And I want to say this early enough before I do the analysis, and it's going to be very, very strict, but very, very objective, really. Very, very, very objective. And I think there are a lot of nuances in the discussion. So guys, let's go down. So I'll mention the player. I will say my own opinions of the player, what the player has done this season, the future of the player, what the player can improve in their game, right? And so let's just have that discussion. We'll rate them at the end over 10. So guys, let's jump right into it. So we'll be analyzing the players. So let's jump right into it. The first person we want to have on the list is Alta Bayindir. For me, Bayindir started the season with us, started the games with us, obviously because of the fact that Ruben Amorim was disillusioned with Andre Onana. I think Andre Onana, we can say, is one of the worst. In my own lifetime, I think is the worst goalkeeper I've seen that has kept for Manchester United in my own lifetime. And I think Bayindir came in, in some couple of games. For me, I want to just give him a 2. I think United should sell him Bayindir because, he appears to be a nice guy. He appears to be a guy that, is not making a force by being on the bench. But the fact is, it's not just by being a nice guy. Also, we have to ask the question: is he good enough to stand in when you want to rest the like of certain Laments, right? Considering the fact that we're going to be having more games now due to the Champions League, I don't think so. I don't think it's as good as being a number 2 for Manchester United. So I think we should be looking into the market for an experienced, a 30+ year goalkeeper that is also very good, right? 30+, but very, very good. That can be a very reliable backup in terms of play. Can play maybe the cup competitions, and in one of Champions League game can step in and play. So I think for me, I'll be giving Arthur Bayindia a 2/10. 2/10, but I think it should be sold at the club. United should be getting a goalkeeper. Tom Meeting has been a very good person. I'm looking at it because of the videos I've seen, the people that have spoken about Tom Meeting. I think he's a very good lad in the dressing room. So I can't give him a rating because obviously he has not kept anything for us. The last time I think I saw him was preseason, right? Preseason. So he has not kept anything for us this season. So we're going to give him a 0. Sene Lammens, for me, I think this has been our best signing this summer. This last summer transfer window, I think it was our best signing. I think he has been the most the most player with the most, let me look for a particular word to say, the most impact. That new player has had the most impact really in that squad. And I think he has really improved us on various levels, because I think everybody would agree it's a big jump moving from Andre Onana to Sene Lammens. Really, I think anything with Andre Onana as the goalkeeper, considering the way Andre Onana considered goals, I think you can just say that team would never be a very good team. The way Andre Onana kept for us last season. And I think Sene Lammens has been a very good, reliable player for us this season. I think he has a lot of qualities. The calmness is one of the qualities. But for me, the quality that I still see in him that makes me believe there's something special, apart from his ability to come out and spread his body to have those saves, which he had a lot of them this season. But I think it's also the ability for him to play with both feet. I feel we need to see more of it next season. We need to unlock that. I believe he's really a goalkeeper that, as I said many times about him, it's difficult to press him, and he's someone that will not have these balls where he kicks it out. It's someone that, even though you press him on the right, can turn to the left and play it. Even when you press him on the left, can turn to the right and play it. And so you have this kind of ball retention with him, coupled with the fact that the close range saves, the coming out to claim the ball. I know, yes, he can do better in other aspects in terms of the wide range upper shots. I believe he can do better, but at his age, he's going to grow, he's going to develop, he's going to get much better. So goalkeepers are not at their prime at that age, right? So I think it's going to get better. David De Gea, I don't think David De Gea had a good season the way Sene Lammens has had a good first season, right? David De Gea's first season wasn't, if you remember, United fans, wasn't, but the more he grew in terms of being confident and building his body, building his confidence and everything, it got better. And I think Sene Lammens is calm. And I think he has a very, very good season for us. And I think we expect more and more for him to grow and become really, really a very top goalkeeper. So for me, Lammens, I'll give Lammens a 7.5. I'll give Lammens a 7.5/10. I think he has really been good. Really been good. If there's one major reason why we finished third, I think in some games you just have to say Lammens has been fantastic for us. Really fantastic for us. Now, defenders, let's go to defenders. Diogo Dalot. I think Diogo Dalot, obviously, I think for most parts he has been fit this season. Dalot has had a lot of mixed bag performances this season, and that is Dalot for you, really. It's the fact of you don't know what to expect in a game with Dalot. Sometimes Dalot can be decent, sometimes it can be terrible. But I think of recent, he has been decent. Yes, I understand the fact that going forward, decisions he takes going forward, it's always going to be a question mark with Dalot. And I don't think that will change his final third decisions. I don't think that will change with him. I don't really think that. I think it's just something that you have to just live with. So far it's still your player, just live with it. That when he goes forward, his decisions are not going to be good. But I think he has been fit, and I think he has been a reliable person for the club, really. So, but for me, I think I'll be giving Diogo Dalot a 4.5/10 this season. I think if it was an ideal situation, I think we should be looking for a starting right back. Ideal situation, I think you should look for a starting right back. I would not sell him just yet, but I think he will not be the starting right back, right? For United. I don't think Dalot has the qualities to be a starting right back for United. I think you guys also agree. But I don't think the club is deciding to go for right backs in the moment. I don't think it's part of their plans. But in an ideal situation, I think he shouldn't be our starting right back. But I'll give him a 4.5 over 10. Nusel Mazaraoui. I think Mazaraoui has played a couple of positions this season. Played centre back, right? Played centre back. Played right centre back. Played right back. But I think Mazaraoui has not been fit. He has not been, one is absence here and there. It's just been, for me, I think, and in this situation, Mazaraoui should be sold. My opinion. This is a player, obviously, you should know by now, if you've been watching us for a very long time, that I'm a big fan of Mazaraoui, but also you have to be available. And I don't think Mazaraoui has been that available. When he has come on, I think you always see when Mazaraoui comes in and has, not necessarily the first game he comes back, but sometimes when you see when he has maybe 1 or 2 games, you begin to see the qualities of Mazaraoui. You begin to see, even under a different system of the 3-4-2-1 system, you begin to see, wow, there's something there. If only this guy can have a run of games, but for some reason he doesn't have the run of games, right? For some reason he doesn't have the run of games, and it's always a big issue. So for me, I think I would just I'll give Mazaraoui a 3 over 10. 3 over 10, really. I don't think in this situation, I don't think Mazaraoui should be remain at the club, really. I think because it's not available. As I said, it's not available. Matthias De Ligt. I think it's very, very sad the injury that happened to Matthias De Ligt. I felt Matthias De Ligt before the injury was having the best season at Manchester United. I think not just the best season. I think he was coming because last season, adapting to the league, I always said the guy was trying to adapt to it. But this season, beginning of this season, I think it was one of the best players we had before his injury. Funny enough, was a leader at that CCB position, central back position. He was the leader. I think the aggressiveness, the energy, the compassion, the drive was there for Matthias De Ligt. But the injury just messed everything. I think reports are even now saying that he might not even start the beginning of the season with us. I think it was a terrible injury, and we don't even know the conditions. I'm hearing reports that United might be going for a new centre back, which will do some analysis of the options that are being listed. So just keep it all this week. You get some analysis of the defenders that are being touted to join us in that situation. But for me, I believe the injury affected him. I think he was having a very, very good season. Very, very good season. I think he even got one goal. I think before the injury. He was having a very, very good season. But injury affected. So I will give Matthias De Ligt a 4 because of the early season performance. I think was solid. It was very, very, very solid for Matthias De Ligt. Next is Harry Maguire. I think Harry Maguire, he has maintained a level of performance this season. I think the only stain in Maguire's record for me, apart from maybe the Bournemouth record, I think it was Bournemouth that he had the record. I think, and then the Brentford not tracking his lines, that those are the ones I can remember. I think Maguire has fairly had a consistent performance. Yeah, he's maintained a very, very big, good baseline. I think, yes, there were some games under Michael Carrick also where he increased there was like those spikes, in performance where he was really physical, he was a leader, going to those tackles, stopping those big strikers. I think there were a couple of games like that. But for me, I think he has maintained a baseline. And for Maguire, I think I'll be giving Maguire a 5.5. I think a 5.5. 5.5, I think for me will be okay. I felt that, Maguire, the exposure in certain areas, as you know, when they are high, there's exposure. When we're having defensive transition, for example, I felt he should have coordinated the Newcastle goal. He should have coordinated that situation very well. Him and Malacia, I felt they should have coordinated it against Osula. But, I think I'll give him a 5.5 over 10. I think he has maintained that performance. And I think we expect that from him in the new contract he has been given. I think you expect that same performance and definitely have more frequent spikes of amazing performance, So for me, I think I'll give Maguire a 5.5. Lisandro Martinez, also injuries. I also think the injuries also, we have to be looking at. I think this should be the last test for Lisandro, the last season, because of the talent he has. I think you don't want to let him go because there's that talent. But the fact is, it doesn't matter how talented you are, you have to be fit. But I think Lisandro always improves the team because of his qualities are qualities that, special qualities, the ability to beat from the back, the aggressiveness, the intelligence, but the injuries. So for me, I think I'll give him a 4/10 because when Lisandro has been around, you can see the impact of Lisandro, and I think I'll give him a 4/10 really. I know the record against Leeds, but I think I'll give him a 4/10. 4/10 because I feel that he's always someone that our game gets better with Lisandro. Always the time we are a different side with Lisandro, right? We're much more stronger side with Lisandro in terms of on the ball, in terms of what we do in build up and all those things. So for me, I'll give him a 4/10. But we have to Lisandro, please be fit the next season. Please try to be fit in the next season. Have a good World Cup with Argentina. Be fit in the next season. And I think if he's not fit in the next season, I think United should look at letting him go. I think you should look at letting him go because no matter how good you are, you have to be fit. The next player on the list is Lenny Yoro. Yoro has had a lot of games where he struggled, a lot of games where it was decent, a lot of games also where it was shaky. I think it's just between those three. Shaky, decent, struggled. There's a games he struggled. We struggled big time. I think Crystal Palace, the first leg of Crystal Palace with Mateta, he struggled. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was the game where it was sad and almost crying I think it was even crying on the bench. In fact, he's had those games. For me, I'm not the person to come out to criticize Euro because there's a talent there, but I just understand that, for defenders, and for the defender making that massive jump to the Premier League, it's always going to take time to adapt. And I think if she does work hard, get better, I think the trajectory for him will always be up. So for me, I think I'll give Euro a 3.5/10. I don't think, I think there have been games where you were like, Euro, Euro, what's going on? The situation even, I think against Aston Villa, if I'm not mistaken, was Aston Villa, yeah those, going to get Morgan Rogers going to right, not being pushing. I think it was also another game where that happened. So but I think he definitely is going to get better. So for me, this season, I'll just give him a 3.5. I'll give him a 3.5. Luke Shaw, I think Luke Shaw, this is the most fit I've seen Luke Shaw in a while. I think even you would agree. Luke Shaw has been very, very fit, played different positions also because of the switch of system. I think he was very, very good as the left centre back. I think he was very, very good. I think he was always a stable guy. He had a very good performance. As left back, there's always going to be a question of if Luke Shaw still has the legs to do the very, very attacking left back role. And I think that's why United should be looking at I've analysed Lewis Hall. I think Lewis Hall is a very perfect replacement for Luke Shaw. And I think I analyze the fact that Lewis Hall will give us even much more than what Luke Shaw gives us in terms of, being a modern kind of fullback, in terms of not just directly moving inside, having creating overloads in the midfield. Sorry. So for me, I think Luke Shaw, I'll give Luke Shaw a 5.5. I think he has fairly been decent. You just feel that there's been a stable. The same with Maguire. I think he has had the baseline of performance, right? This is sorry. 11 has not had many games this season, but the major thing is whenever he has been given a chance, he shows up. I think even when it was played at CCB, it was a marvel. I think his performance has been one of the performances this season that when he was playing at the CCB, I was like, wow, there's a player here. I've always known there's a player there, but the role in the CCB, amazing. Even when he came in due to injury crisis and the red card crisis, I think against Chelsea, he was there. You can just see there's a player there. And I hope that this season, because I think, Evan gives us almost close to the same things that Martinez gives us on the ball, right? So I think he should be given more opportunities, right? I don't know why he has not been given more opportunities, but I know that, yes, I trust the manager's decision to evaluate his training. But what I would just say, and what you guys have also seen, is the fact that whenever he's given an opportunity, that's 11, he always impresses. And I think next season should be a season where he gets more games. There are more games to play, so I think he should get more games naturally. I think I would like to see him in a Champions League match in the evening under the floodlight. Let me see how he's able to. I think the boy, there's a big player there. You can't deny that, a big player there. I think when he first came, I always saw a little bit of playfulness in his this team, but recently I've seen a lot more maturity, a lot more effectiveness, and I think even I watched a player one of the players, maybe not Bruno, talking about that Evan is one person that plays a lot outside of the pitch, but when he gets to the pitch, he's focused. You can see he wants, and I think that's what I've seen, because I always complained that there's a talent there when he first came, but I always felt he was too risky. He was too brave, if that's a word, like too brave. But he took too many risks. He tried too many, too many passes that you were like, brother, you shouldn't be doing this kind of passes. Try and calm it down. I know, but now I feel that the guy is more concentrated. The guy has more belief, and the guy has been impressing. I think he should have more games. So for me, 11 because of he has impressed every time he has come in, even when he's not in the best of situations, when he has not had games before, he's always there. I think I'll give you Evan a 4 over 10 this season. Midfielders, Bruno Fernandes. For me, amazing player. I've always said it. You guys should go and check our videos. I've always said Bruno has to retire at Manchester United. I think if I was the owner, I know that yes, as the years go by, I know that yes, his impact in the club in terms of effectiveness and energy will reduce. But ultimately, I think he should be given that grand. He has been a good servant for this club. And I think for me, I was shocked beginning of the season when we were in clamor of sell Bruno. I never really understood it. Yeah, but I understand the way the fan base can be sometimes very neurotic, sometimes very, very emotional. But for me, I'd always maintain my stance that you have to make him retire here. I think the qualities of that guy is amazing. The consistency of that guy is amazing. I think very high level and consistent level over the years. So for me, I think this season, assist record and the like. So I think Bruno Fernandes gets a 8 over 10 for me. I think 8 over 10, really. 8 over 10. Fantastic guy. I think I agree with people that say he has a very big shot as the player of the year. But I think he deserves every good thing that comes to him individually. And hopefully more collective trophies and awards will come to him, really. But fantastic guy. I think the guy should retire at this club. I keep maintaining my stand, not because of what he's playing now. I've always said it. He's a fantastic leader, fantastic guy. No matter the manager, he gives his 100%. You can't say, oh, he's not playing. No, you can't say that about Bruno. Bruno always wants to play. And I think Bruno is the example for everybody. Play. No matter what is going on, play. Enjoy yourself, play, be aggressive, play. And I think Bruno, fantastic guy. Casemiro has left the club. I think very, very important guy for us. I think he and Bruno has been amazing for us in the midfield this season. Even when it was a midfield and double pivot of both of them, you could see sometimes. I remember the game against Brighton, where we were leading Brighton, first leg against Brighton, where Casemiro and Bruno were asked to press high. Casemiro, I understand the issues he had, being overweight and the likes, but I think the guy dug in, even when he wasn't playing under Ruben Amorim, dug in, did all that he did. And I think throughout the season, you just see his impact. There was a time where, because of how intense he was playing, when he was removed, you could see the drop-off in our quality. And that's why I've always said it, and I even said it recently, we don't just have to replace Casemiro. I think we have to get someone that can do what Casemiro does for us and can do more. Right, and it's going to be very difficult to get such a player because Casemiro is an amazing player. I think in his role and the kind of player, he's one of the best in his generation. You wouldn't argue with that, really. Very, very good player, very, very committed player, and even the added goals that he had towards the end of the season under Michael Carrick, I think he has shown that even from when he came, that his capacity on the head is there. And I think amazing guy. I wish him all the best. But for me, I'll give him a 7 over 10 this season. I think Casemiro has really, really been decent. Kobe Mainoo, fantastic part of ending of the season. I think obviously he didn't play for most part of the season. So I think his rating will be low because of that, because he didn't play for most part. But I think the major point for Kobe Mainoo, as I've said, even in the last episode that I did when I analyzed him being a positive for Michael Carrick, is the fact that I think he has gotten a new role, and I think that's very good. And I think now we know what we should be expecting for Kobe Mainoo as a deep line playmaker. I think he has to work on a lot of things. There's a lot of things to work on, but I think at least a role has been fixed for him, and I think that's always been a question: is where is best for Kobe Mainoo? But I think now it's clear, deep line playmaker. He has to improve on a lot of things: the intensity, the speed of the play, control of tempo, long passes. He has to improve on these things. But I think for me, it has been decent. Especially, I can pick 3 games where 4 games where I was like, wow, amazing. This is what we want. This is what we want. Especially the Liverpool game was the best game was the best game in that 4. But I can look at Bournemouth's game. I think Bournemouth's game was the first time I saw vividly that I'd always clamored for deep line playmaker for him. People that know in our live shows, I always clamored that this guy can be a deep line playmaker. But the Bournemouth game, I praised him. Even when we drew, people were like, "Whoa, Kobe, what did Kobe play?" I said, "Deep line playmaker. Can't you see?" And I think I like the fact that he's a deep line playmaker. Bournemouth, I think Chelsea also was very good in terms of the tempo. Was within what he could handle in that Chelsea game. Then we went to the Brentford game. I was like, the tempo is a lot higher, but you could still see what he was doing, especially first 10 minutes where the tempo was very, very high from us, and you could see that Kobe matched up to the tempo. And I think the more he plays, the more he's getting used to the high tempo, the high intensity, and I think he has to do that. Then Liverpool game I think Liverpool game is the standard. Liverpool game is the standard for Kobe Mainoo. If Kobe Mainoo, and I think I said after the Liverpool game, if Kobe Mainoo can be given that performance, at least increase that performance and give us that kind of performance consistently, solid player it will be. So I think he has to improve more on that. So for Kobe Mainoo, I'll give him a 5.5, partly because of the fact that a new rule. And I think that new rule is a very big thing for me, and he didn't play beginning of the season. Mason Mount. My boy, I like Mason Mount. Injuries. Mason Mount makes United tick. I don't want to know who the manager is, what the system is. My experience when see Mason Mount, whenever Mason Mount plays, we are more robust. That's what the fact. I even believe that if Mason Mount was fit, sometimes when we were outplayed in the midfield, towards the end of the season, where we had games where visibly outplayed, I felt if Mason Mount was there, it would have helped, really. I think he helps us to be more robust, more compact, more thick. Mason Mount, fantastic. I think he had a very good beginning of the season. I think it was very, very effective for us. You could see, I think he has goals in him, but injuries. For me, injuries makes it a 4. Let me say 4.5 for Mason Mount. 4.5 because of the injuries. I've always felt he has not had the time to have the redeem. And even this season, I think it was managed by Ruben Amorim in terms of not playing 90 minutes, and we could manage him. But in our best question, what do we do, Mason Mount? Fantastic player, but it's not fit. It's not for me. I think we should let him go. I think we should let Mason Mount go, really, because it's all about availability. It's all about availability, and I think there's always going to be a player there. There's always going to be a player in Mason Mount, really. Always going to be a player. But when you're not fit, it's going to be very difficult. Very, very difficult. So for me, I'll give Mason Mount a 4.5 because at least he was much more available than the likes of Delete and even Martinez, and Mason Mount got goals. He got goals. And I think that's amazing. Manuel Ugarte, I think Ugarte obviously has not had many opportunities, and I think it's always going to be difficult to rate a player that has not had many opportunities. But I felt that the performances he had this season, there were some games he came in, and I think the criticism for Ugarte on many of those games, I think, was unfair, in my opinion. I'm not saying he was fantastic in those games, but I think sometimes the analysis of Ugarte sometimes it's very unfair. And I think, and let me tell you why it's unfair. Sometimes, and I've expressed my own opinions about it, where you don't necessarily, when he plays, sometimes you hear people analyze him and you're like, oh, the reason why was Ugarte bad in the game? Ugarte was a bad luck. Like, being bad luck is not what you should be analyzing about a player. It's not what you should be analyzing about a player, really. I don't think that is it. He's not scoring home goals. He's not making error leading to goals, So it's just, but because the fact that he comes in and maybe we draw the game or lose the game, it's bad luck and everything. And I feel even when you analyze some of the goals that came in when he was on the pitch, many of those goals this season have not been due to his direct fault. I think we have to be honest with that. Yeah, I'm not saying that he has been a very good player for us, but I think there's a lot of things you have to criticize about him, and let me say some of them. I think for me, at a point, I criticized him even last season and beginning of the season that he wants to do too much. Ugarte play simple, and I felt at a point I began to see Ugarte play simple, even do more than what I expected, and I feel, wow, there's somebody there. Even when the Newcastle game, for example, I felt he was there. They had a kind of like a block of games in that period where I felt Ugarte was there, but I just feel Obviously, a lot of people in the fan base do not like Ugarte, and I feel analysis about him many times have been unfair. Not saying he's a good player, but I think many times he has been unfair. I think for me, I believe there's a player there, but not at Manchester United, not in the Premier League, because I've always said this when he joined that it would be a big ask for him to do what he can do in the Premier League. For me, I believe he should, for his career's sake, I think he should leave the club to maybe Serie A and try it out. And who knows, he can just, he still has a number of years to play in his career, and I think he can just really become the Manogate that we knew at Sporting Lisbon, right? I think he really can be that, really, or Sporting CP. So for me, I'll give Manogate a 3 partly because he has not had many games really, and the moments he has had, you can't really rate more like that. But the ones he played, the game time he had the block, you could see there was something there. Amad Diallo, forwards. Amad Diallo. Amad before the Nations Cup, I said in my opinion was our best player before the Nations Cup. Amad after the Nations Cup, a lot of drop off. I think at certain point, I don't know what happened. I know he lost someone in his family, and sometimes I see the person was very close to him. Sometimes these things affect, when you lose somebody, it also affects. Sometimes the change of pattern, having been a wing back, which I felt was doing very, very well, because his role at the wing back wasn't necessarily a right back. It was a wing back, and I keep defining people. I don't know how much we should say it. Wing back is an hybrid of a winger and a fullback, right? And he was having a space before him and having those moments. And whenever Hamad has space in front of him, he tends to do very, very well. Very, very well. And I think he had a very good first half of the season. Second half, not so. But for me, I think because of the defensive work rate he has added to his game, I think not just attacking defensive work rate. I don't want to give him anything less than 5. I don't want to give him 5.5. No, I want to give him a 6. So I'll give Ahmad a 6/10, I think, because defensively he's there. Yeah, I know that the performances have dropped. Ahmad should be rated higher if he had continued the amazing performance he had. Being effective, being a thorn in defenders' flesh. But the performances drop, and I hope next season he's able to come back to the Amad Diallo that we know, because I always felt this season was going to be a season, but the trajectory, everything went downhill. I believe next season it should be the Amad Diallo with many games, with many tournaments. It should be the Amad Diallo that we won. Brian Mbeumo, Mr. Premier League, also had a very good beginning of the season, but he dropped off. I think when he came on board, one of the good qualities he had was his first touch. I think now the first touch is sometimes you're like, what's going on? Sometimes there are chances where you feel he can bury on a normal day. He doesn't bury it like that again. But I just believe it's just a patch. I want to just believe it's just a patch. I believe Mbeumo is very good. And I've praised him many times. He's very, very good. I believe he'll get better. So for me, I'll give him a 6 also. I think first half of the season was amazing. And I think first half of the season was amazing. Yes, he struggled even being playing as an inside forward at certain points, which I said he always like to come from outside, inside, and sometimes when he's asked to not talking, and Ahmad is not like to. I analyzed the situation, but even in those periods, you could see that he was adapting to the role, and maybe because of the change of system also, some players benefit from a change of system, others do not, and I think you can also look at maybe that's the situation with Brian Mbeumo. But for me, I'll give Brian Mbeumo a 6/10. I think I want to say decent first season. Yeah, has not been good on all ramifications, but I think we just want him to be better. I don't think he's going for the World Cup, right? I don't think he's going for. Yeah, he's not going for the World Cup. So ultimately, I think he's well rested, fired on, having the preseason. He didn't have the preseason much in this first season. Have the preseason, get firing up, get ready and come back guns blazing. That's So I'll give him Brian Mbeumo a 6/10. Matheus Cunha, I think he has been more consistent than Ahmad and Mbeumo. I think when those guys had a drop off, Matheus Cunha didn't really have a drop off. He was getting goals, even though I believe his general play might have reduced a bit, but I think he's much more sharper in front of goal. And I think I said it one time. Matheus Cunha's signing would always be a good signing. I've never been in doubt of that. And I think, for example, the clinicality. So sometimes you see some games where he gets a chance. I think was it Chelsea? Was it the one that scored for us? The Chelsea that ball from those kind of situations. If I'm not mistaken, the Chelsea game. If I'm not mistaken, was it one that scored? If I remember clearly, there were games where he had those chances where a Garnacho would not bury it like that, and when the Cunha buries it, as I said, those are the improvements. Lamens, the save and Onana would not normally save. When Lamens saves it, you've improved. The chance Anthony might not be able to score, when Buemo scores it, improvement. The chance, even the hold up and link up, or the chance that Sesko scores, that Oiland might not necessarily score, improvement. And that's how you improve your score. Those margins is what takes you to where you need to be. And I think Matheus Cunha has really been a sign of good relief. The confidence, the bravado. I think even Barada, referred to him as Eric Cantona at one point, even though I believe it's a long shot. But I think you can see the confidence. The guy is not phased. He's always there. Defensively, I think he has had moments where he has been very, very strong. And the ability to him to run back and, it's not like we are begging somebody, hey, please run back. We've had situations where we beg Rashford, can you please run back? We beg Garnacho, can you please run back? But Matheus Cunha is willing to, to go back and to defend. I think these are the improvements, really. Cunha, I will give Cunha a 6.5. Because I felt he has not had a drop-off that the likes of Ahmad and Mbeumo had that drop-off. I think he has been there. Benjamin Sesko, my boy. I think it's a for we that are kind of like Sesko FC. I think it has been a good first season for him. Obviously, he needs to improve on a lot of things. Obviously, but I think as a goal scorer or striker, the more you score, the more the confidence and the more you begin to do well. I think Sesko needs to score more with his head. I think Sesko needs a lot of cutback situations to score. I think he has had a couple this season, but I think he needs more. Sesko needs to improve on his hold up and link up. Sesko obviously knows how to run into space. I think he has a lot of things to do. And maybe I will do an episode more on what my boy needs to do, because I promise that I will do that. Sesko needs to improve on a lot of things. But I think for first season at Manchester United, I think it's decent. But there's still a lot more to go. And I believe I've been clamoring for the boy privately for years, that this guy, I've watched him, I believe this guy can be our striker. I'm happy he's at the club. And I think decent first season for him. For Sesko, I think I'll give Sesko a 6/10. I think he can still do better. I think his reaction time also, when he has chances, can also get better, really. But I know sometimes his gradual steps, but he has to improve. He still has to improve more. Next person, Joshua Zexi. Fantastic player. But you guys always know, I usually say this about Zexi. Zexi is the icing on the cake. When the cake is not yet fully made, the icing doesn't make sense. And I think that's what that's always been. Zexi is a very special player, but is a player that should be in a team that is functioning. Manchester United is not functioning in the way that it will fit a Zexi. But Zexi has still adapted to the league. When those cameo moments he had, because you see that Zexi has adapted, he knows. But the fact is, United is a team that Zexi needs to be in a team that has more of the ball, pushes more higher, where he can be able to show his qualities. He's someone that's an icing on the cake. I don't think, and I've always said that I do not really necessarily see it working at United, because it needs to be in a very finished team, and I think very ready team. And I think United is still a team depending on transition moments, counter attacks, and those kind of blistering moments, and which Zexi would ultimately suffer, because that's not the kind of game he's built for. So for me, I think he had very good game against Crystal Palace first leg, if I'm not mistaken. I think, and decent cameo moments. I'll give Zexi 3.5 because he hasn't played much. Yeah, he hasn't played much, so 3.5 will be okay. And lastly, Patrick Dogu, fantastic boy. Patrick Dogu is having a kind of season where every player that is struggling would want to have. I think first part of the season, people said he's not good enough for United. He's a stupid boy. Sorry for the word. He's not a good boy. People even said he should get out from the club. And we were like, this guy has potential. What potential does he have? And he went from that episode to what do you call it? Ballon Dogu. Bale region. I'm like, Oh god, I think that just shows the fan base, and I think even though when people says the former manager criticized him, I didn't see that statement like that, but that's not my own concern. I think my concern has more been like, I don't believe there's any word the manager said to him publicly that can be compared to what the fans have said to him publicly in terms of comments, in terms of on social media. He reads those things. And I think I did one episode back then, said people should take it easy on this guy. He reads those things. He's not a robot. He's not living in the cave. He doesn't stay in a cocoon. He reads those things. I think we were very, very harsh on him. And I think it's kind of a love. It's now turned love from it's not good enough. He can't succeed in this club. The guy is not even good. He's just useless. What is he good at? To now, Ballon Dogu. Like every player that is struggling wants to have that episode. I know, yes, it's not the finished article. Let's not deceive ourselves. It's still going to have some dips on the way. I just want us to believe, and as fans, to understand that there's a player there. Let's be patient with him. Let's not be quick to say, "Oh, he's not good enough." Hey, no. Let's not be too quick to do that. There's a player there. For Dogu, I think I'll give Dogu a 5.5. I think yes, he was injured for a while, but I think his qualities are just amazing. I think as a manager, you want, like me as a manager, I would love to have a Dogu in my team. Intense. I think at the beginning of the season, he suffered a lot from confidence. I think that was big. But I think after the Newcastle goal, where he was played on the right and he scored that goal, I think the confidence has just been there. I think he has grown. The injury hampered that after a fantastic goal, I think, against Arsenal, right? So the injury hampered that, but you can just see, even when he came back, the little cameo he had, there's a confidence there. And I think he wants to retain that confidence. Some performances might not, I'm not expecting perfect performances from Dogu every time, but I believe we should just believe that there's a player there. So guys, I think I'll give Dogu, as I said, a 5.5.